This is TLV1.
TLV1 Radio.
Great mixture.
I like Tel Aviv.
This is still V1.
This is
Tel Aviv is a beautiful city.
Great city, great radio.
TLV1.
This is TLV1.
From the TLV1 studios in Tel Aviv, Israel, it's Louis Live! That's host, me, and in-studio guest co-host, Radio Mike.
How you doing, everybody?
Radio Mike, it's great to have you here, and a lot of people don't want to travel, a.k.a. Magic Johnson. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. They were scared to come to Israel, but you're not scared, correct?
No, I'm really thrilled to be here with you, as always, and I'm not afraid at all.
Excellent, and we have a great show for you. A lot of very special guests. Avi Dagan, former head of the Mossad, will be on half past the hour to talk about Zohar Sharon. Very interesting story about Israeli champion blind golfer. Stay tuned for that. Tom Weiss from I-24 talking about the settlement the Tel Aviv Municipality gave out to a runner who passed away in the marathon a few years ago. Bob Rosenschein from Answers.com, the founder of that great organization, and much more. But on the line right now from Israel Hayom to talk a little tennis. A big pleasure to bring on, first time to the program, Ilana Berger Harpaz. Ilana, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good evening.
So let's get right to it. Duty Sella, Jonathan Elric are playing in this City Open tennis tournament, and they've talked about how the war in Gaza is affecting their play. How much do you think that it has actually affected their play?
Well, I think it has an effect on every sportsman playing abroad. If it's tennis, if it's any other sport, I think that all players have families, friends, some of them children, of course, that are going through tough times here back at home. So it must be tough.
Now, interesting comment that came up was the Negative Israel Open. That's scheduled for mid-September in Tel Aviv. That'd be Israel's first tournament since 1996. Now that's in jeopardy because of the Gaza war. Do you think at the end of the day we'll get that mid-September tennis tournament?
Well, the problem is if it has to, if the organization has to take the tennis organization here in Israel has to take a decision right now, then I suppose it will be cancelled. If they still have a few days to see how things maybe calm down a little bit, we see the IDF maybe making some moves to bring some more quiet days to our region. Maybe that will make a difference, and they will be able to convince the international tennis groups that it's safe enough for players to come. But even then, even when you have the okay from the big organizations of tennis that allow the tournament to take place, then you still have the players. Each person has another view and another, sense of security. And some might say, okay, we have okay to come, but still I don't feel good enough about this thing, and I'll cancel my participation and go to look for a tournament somewhere else. So it's really a tough one to call at this moment.
Hi, this is Radio Mike. Ilana, I just had a question for you. I know it's really it's a tremendous hardship playing, in a foreign country and what's going on in Israel at the same time. But these are professional athletes. Do you think that they can really somehow use that to rally their spirits and somehow play and elevate their game and, overcome their hardships and play even better?
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I think that all players, at the end of the day, even when you're playing on an individual sport like tennis, at the end of the day, you're representing your country. And at times like this, when people think it might be difficult, to concentrate on playing and on winning when you have family and friends going through rough days, sometimes it gives them, or it over-motivates them, and it gives them a really good push to try and do even better. So I think you have a point. I think some of the Israeli sportsmen and tennis players, for that matter, might take that as a good thing, and turn a bad thing into a good one and try to motivate themselves and get better results. I think that we even saw Duty Sella do that, in Atlanta just a week ago, reaching the final, playing really good tennis. And I think although he has a newborn baby here back in Israel, and his wife is here, and family and friends. But I think that the professional tennis players know how to disconnect themselves and even try to over-motivate themselves when something like this is going on.
Do you plan to have any athletes in the Flushing Tennis Center in beginning of September to end of August?
Can you repeat the question,
And
please?
the tennis center in Flushing, the U.S. Open.
Yes.
Do you plan to have a couple of players from Israel?
Yeah, I think that everyone that has a good enough ranking to play either the qualifiers or to get into the main draw of the tournament, I'm sure they will be there. It's one of the 4 most important tournaments in the year schedule, one of the 4 Grand Slams, and no one will want to miss that unless there's really something very bad going on. I think that we will have there Dudi, of course, in the women's, Shachar Pe'er, Yulia Glushko, and maybe Jonathan Ehrlich in the doubles, of course, as well.
Well, I live about 3 miles away from the tennis center, so I'll definitely be cheering them on.
Wearing an Israeli flag, no doubt. We're speaking with Ilana Berger Harpaz here on Louis Live. She is from Israel Hayom, and interesting what Jonathan Ehrlich did after his family was going in bomb shelters because of the rockets. He sent a plane and flew them to the United States, and I was curious, how do you think most Israelis see that? Do they see that as, hey, you're not sticking with us, you need to be with us and fly out here, or do they say, hey, he's just protecting his family, and it makes sense for him to fly them out of Israel?
Well, I think it's a very personal approach. I would think that if you have, first of all, the money to do that, and you can spend the money to have your family close, and you can do that, I wouldn't look at it as something bad to do, especially if you're talking about small children. He feels there might be more safe with him there at this moment than sticking at home. I don't know. I think it's a kind of moment that it's hard to judge someone else. Everyone has his own point of view and his own feelings, and you just have to respect that.
All right, and give us the latest update for those who don't watch tennis all the time with Sela and Jonathan Ehrlich. Where do they stand right now?
Well, I know that Sela lost in Washington his singles match. I don't know if he's playing doubles, to tell you the truth. I didn't look through the draw. They are both, good, very, very good players. I'm sure that all the tournaments they're playing at now in Washington and in the next few weeks coming up to the U.S. Open in Flushing Meadows, I think it's a good warm-up, and they will try and do their best to keep fit and concentrated and get to the U.S. Open at the end of August in as good a shape as they can.
All right, great stuff. Ilana Berger Harpaz here on Louis Live, breaking it down. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Good night.
Be well. All right, coming up next, more Israel soccer woes. Gadi Rabinowitz tells about the latest debacle in Israeli soccer. This is Louis Live on TLV1. All right, back here on Louis Live, very interesting story on a lot of different levels that happened a couple of days ago. The Tel Aviv Municipality has been ordered to pay $260,000 to the family of a deceased marathon runner. This is from the half marathon a few years ago. Here to talk about that, marathon runner and reporter for I-24, Mr. Tom Weiss. Tom, welcome back to the show.
Hey, how are you, Ari?
I'm doing okay, and you're joined with Radio Mike as well. Radio Mike's a stair climber. You're a marathon runner. You guys are both athletes. Radio Mike made the point to me off air that, hey, you know what you're getting into when you get into a marathon, football competition, whatever. It's not the government's responsibility to make sure you drink your water, take care of yourself. Was this a bad decision that the government has to pay this money to the family of the deceased?
Well, you know, the judge came down with a ruling, but at the same time in saying so, and I'm not a lawyer, nor sitting on the magistrate's court when Judge Menachem Klein made the ruling, but at the same time, you know, you're running, and this happens in marathons. People don't really discuss it in many cases, but it happens often. A matter of fact, I mean, when I say often, it may happen every couple of years in a New York marathon or something along these lines. But last year in Tel Aviv, as we're very, very well know, not this year, not 2014, but 2013 in Tel Aviv, we had a severe heat wave situation where there was a warning. I remember telling friends, putting it on my Facebook wall, as of the Tuesday before the Friday run. So we're sitting 3-4 days in advance when they knew there was a 96-degree heat. It was going to be by midday. And so they made everything, they changed things around. They took away the full marathon out of this particular run last year, and they made the longest run the half marathon. And still, somebody who was 29, almost 30 years old passed on from that one. Now, is that just the direct heat itself that actually came into play? It's part of it because you feel lightheaded and so on and so forth. I mean, because your follow-up question, I'm sure, is going to deal with how much of responsibility is really on the runner's head, and how aware are you when you're out there, when you're running?
Well, you know, you do have to take a breather, and you have to take your water as necessary. I don't really see why the municipality would be responsible at all. I mean, as long as there's water nearby, and you know.
Well, that's one of the questions, because you know the thing is, I don't know if you ran the marathon. Let's say even last year, because it's closer in proximity and everybody remembers it. But I know from many, many people, friends of mine that came from Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, that ran, and all over the country actually, that came in to run the Tel Aviv marathon last year, and they said it was such a scramble to be able to grab the waters or the different types of Gatorades, the proteins, the bananas, whatever that was there. It was gone because there were so many runners. It was almost, even though they had the preparation and background, they were almost unprepared. And in doing so, one of my students told me, I lecture at the College of Management in Rishon as well, Global Broadcasting and Professional English Language Communications. And one of my students actually told me that her father was in the restaurant at noontime as the mayor of Tel Aviv was actually sitting there eating lunch after he had received the information, was dealing with it. But I guess he was thinking to himself, look, I have a meeting, whatever the case may be, on this Friday afternoon, and there's not much that I can really do. But was there proper preparation that was taken by the city itself? Why wasn't it canceled at that stage under that kind of heat? Because I know we're starting and talking about 2011 and the 890,000 shekels, the 260,000 bucks, the compensation to the family of this 42-year-old man that collapsed in a heat stroke.
Well, if you're a running back in pro football, you know, you weigh 225, and you have three linebackers that weigh a combined weight of 900 pounds, and they tackle you, you know, you could break something there. You know, you're taking a risk when you're running a marathon.
You're right, except for there you're a professional athlete, and as a professional athlete,
a person really, I think personally, a person should take responsibility for himself. I certainly see what you're saying, that possibly they ran out of stuff, but, you know, you do have to take responsibility for yourself, and you know, you have to be careful.
The responsibility you're talking about, right, is basically when you're running, you get lightheaded. You know, sometimes because you're so lightheaded, you just keep on pushing yourself, because as a marathon runner, as you know, you're in a situation where there's an in-between type stage where you're going, and every single stride, as we were talking about with Ari right before the Jerusalem marathon back in March, every single stride is your body. Every other stride is your other leg. And your head, your whole body is involved with it. It's not even like riding a bicycle where you're standing up on the hills and catching the wind. Here, it's every single, and if you're under that kind of heat, that kind of stress, that kind of duress, but you've worked for so long, as you know, as a runner and an athlete, that you want to pull your way through it. When you're a running back in a football game, you want to win that game, and you're going to do everything that you could possibly do to win the game. So you're so focused on your victory and making things happen that you're willing to go across the middle and take a chance of getting paralyzed as you're diving for a ball over the middle that the quarterback throws wildly or even on target. When the other guy is coming up, meaning the cornerback, the safety, the free safety, the linebacker, whomever it is at that particular stage of the field, coming up to just take you out because that's what they see on ESPN and that's where the game is, helmet to helmet, even though it's illegal, and that can create paralyzation. So where are the limits, where are the lines is part of this whole thing. At the same time, you're right. A runner himself, herself, has to realize your particular limits. Push yourself. If you have to walk. Take water when you can and drench yourself. Put it all over your head and your shirt and whatever else. But make sure that you're taken care of because only you can, especially with all those runners out there, there's only a certain number of men that can. Believe me, I've been in the first aid tent before after the race is over. I've gone through the parallels and the power type of mode of saying, I'm not stopping. There's no way I'm quitting. I'm going to get this thing. Matter of fact, Ari stood with me on the line, on the finish line, after I had a terrible situation with one of my legs where it took me forever walking, swinging my legs for half of the marathon to make sure that my left leg was able to guide all the way through to be able to clear the line eventually, and went over 6 hours of driving as hard as I could, but in a walk stage after running a very hard 16 and then getting an injury. So by doing that, you don't want to give up. You don't want to stop. And by doing so, you get yourself sometimes into a situation like this. Now, as far as the city is concerned, is the city liable? Well, you got to make, if you're going to have the race at all, you got to make sure there's great pressures, as we all know, from people that come in from England, from France, from Germany. When we were looking at the lineup in 2013 last year, there were people that were complaining, my girlfriend, I just flew in to watch my girlfriend. She's supposed to run the full marathon, and now you guys are taking the marathon away. What are you doing? It's not fair. Try coming in from England when it's 30 degrees less in American standards, and then trying to run under in this kind of an atmosphere, in that kind of a heat, 96 in midday. So let's say it only went up to 88 at that stage. It's hard and it's long, and you know what? You're driving through it, but you've got to take care of yourself because nobody else will. But is the city responsible? Well, the city ran the race, and they must then have much more, 3, 4, 5 times more water, Gatorade, everything you can possibly do, salt. Make sure that the runners can do it, and it's not going to just cost the city. And then I made a comparison between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Would Jerusalem have run the race? Well, I want to tell you something. I think that Jerusalem would not have run that race under those conditions. A couple of weeks later, Jerusalem had beautiful conditions, and it was a different story. We even had to run through hail in Jerusalem. But I think that chen b'chesed v'rachamim, I think that actually that these things apply as far as Judaism is concerned. Pekuach nefesh, it means saving a life. That takes priority.
Well, all right. Well, speaking of that, Tom. Speaking of that, saving a life, I got to run because the next guest was the former head of the Mossad, and we don't want to keep him waiting.
Oh, not at all. Especially now, man. Great guest.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for coming on. Tom Weiss from I-24, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tom.
Last point I'll leave before we go to commercial. I would say that one thing the city could be responsible for is having medics that see if a guy is about to collapse from a heat stroke. If you have a medic every whatever it is, 1/4 of the mile or 1 mile, whatever, that would prevent that. Go ahead, Radio Mike.
Yeah, well, just to support what Tom was saying, in New York, like 2 years ago, when we had Hurricane Sandy and New York was really reeling from the storm, the New York Marathon with 40,000 runners was canceled. So it can be canceled, and if it is 96-degree heat, maybe you do have to revisit it. Maybe even people coming from England and all over the world, you do have to cancel it, and sometimes you do have to set it aside.
Maybe inconvenience is worth saving a life. Something to think about. A very interesting topic, to say the least. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, the former head of the Mossad, Avi Dagan, to talk about a little golf. This is Louis Live on TLV1.
To be someone else, but traded him in.
All right, back here on Louis Live, you can, of course, follow the station on Twitter at TLV1.FM. You can email me personally at arilouisshow@hotmail.com, ARILOUISSHOW@hotmail.com. And next week, we're going to have a great show. We're going to have on Ike Thaler, head of Jews for Tebow, as well as Paul Hirschberger, IFL filmmaker, and very special surprises to come. But on the line right now from Israel Golf to talk about a very special story is Mr. Avi Dagan. Avi, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So let's talk about Israel superstar that's maybe perhaps under the horizon for mainstream media, Zohar Sharon, the champion, but a very special champion because he cannot see. He lost his sight in the military, but yet he competes in golf. And tell us a bit about how a guy can play golf without seeing.
Well, tell you the truth, I don't really know because for me, it's difficult to hit the ball with two eyes open. It's really remarkable. Zohar is a very, very special person. He lost his sight while he was in the army, in a military operation. And part of his rehab, he started to play golf. And he got a caddy, a very close friend of his, by the name Shimon, that actually Shimon is Zohar's eyes. Shimon tells him the direction, the distance, and the situation of the wind.
Okay.
And he really does remarkable things. I mean, he's a world champion for blinds for the last 4 years, and he's Australian blind champion. And when you see him playing, you don't realize really that he cannot see. We had a visit of Tom Lehman. Do you know the name?
Sure.
Tom Lehman was here, and he met Zohar, and Zohar hit some balls, and Tom said, "Let me try." And you know, the blind competitors, while they are playing, they have to put dark glasses on, apart from the checks to check the level of the blindness. And Tom Lehman was really excited. He said that's something that you can't believe it until you put the dark sunglasses on your eyes and you see nothing and you try to hit the ball. He's a very, very nice person, very gentle. He travels a lot to Italy, to the United States, to Australia, and very proudly represents Israel.
And he only took up playing golf after he became blind. Is that correct?
That's correct. And you know, when you want to be a good golfer, you have to learn and to study and to practice when you are very young. I mean, to learn golf itself, somebody with a perfect sight, when you are in an advanced age, it's not that easy. And he did it in quite I think, if I am not mistaken, it was the late 20s, early 30s, and his age, and completely blind.
Well, you
have to know that in a blind championship, there are 3 levels. I mean, people that are less blind, etc., A, B, C. And he's competing in the very dark world, and before any tournament, there is a blind check to see if there is any recovery or something like that. And
I have a.
After that, you have the sunglasses. It's really something. It's really something.
Avi, I have a friend who's also blind, and when I feel blue and I feel down, he peps me up with what he tells me and everything like that. Possibly, maybe Zohar can be an inspirational speaker to all these possible wounded Chayalim.
No, I'm definitely agree with you. We in the Israeli Golf Federation, we took under our umbrella the society of wounded soldiers, because we believe what we call in Hebrew Irgun Nechei Tzahal. What we believe that taking part in all these sport activities, it's not only the kind of physical training, it's also kind of mental taking care of. And, somebody who is not able to run around or to do all what he used to do before, comes to the course, making the practice, walking. We've got somebody with 2 legs paralyzed, and he has to drive a special car, and the car is so developed that it can shift him up to a standing position so he can hit the ball. And these guys, they are really remarkable people. I mean, we don't treat them as handicappers. We treat them as a sportsman.
He's better than us. What are you kidding?
Yeah. Last question we have for you, Avi, is Radio Mike was telling me this before the show started, that it's not just that Zohar is beating other blind golfers. He beats golfers who can see as well, right?
Yes, that's correct. Due to the handicap system, which is played in golf. His handicap golf, not physical handicap,
right,
is allowing him to play with people who are completely healthy and they can see, and he can beat them off. He's really a person. He's really a sportsman. He's somebody to look after.
There's no question. It's certainly an inspiration. When it comes to Zohar, not only does he golf, he's a sculptor, he's a painter. So everyone listening out there, if you make an excuse for yourself, you really got to look yourself in the mirror when you see Zohar's accomplishments. No doubt about that. Avi, we got to run. Thank you so much for the time. Pleasure to have on Avi Dagan on Louis Live on TLV1.
Thank you very much.
All right, be well.
Bye.
All right, quick break. On the other side, talking about the disaster that is Israel soccer, is Gadi Rabinowitz. This is Louis Live on TLV1. All right, back here on Louis Live. Great show so far. Halfway through, halfway to go. And on the line right now, Israel Sports Radio's own Gadi Rabinowitz. Gadi, how you doing out there?
Wonderful. How you doing, Ari?
It's been a
while since I've been on your show.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. First time been on this show. We're certainly proud to have you. And, there's been a lot of bad news with Israel soccer. Last week we talked about how Hapoel Tel Aviv, Hapoel Beersheva kicked out of the Europa League. You had these teams in Israel that had to play in a different place outside of Israel due to the war. They had to play in Larnaca. Cyprus, right. Larnaca, Cyprus. Now you have Maccabi Tel Aviv. Looks like they will not reach the Champions League. Tell us a bit why that is.
Well, I think presumptions of Maccabi Tel Aviv not reaching the Champions League are just a little bit early to discuss. We're talking here about a game. Maccabi are coming just slightly behind after a 1-0 loss last week to Maribor of Slovenia. Maribor of Slovenia, not a big team. Well, I suppose neither are Maccabi either when you look at it in the big scheme of things. Maccabi Tel Aviv really need to win this game. A draw is no good. They need to win. at least 1-0, if not more. 2-0, 2-1 will also be good. We're talking here about a very important game, and with some key players missing. Today it's been confirmed that Gal Alberman, maybe Maccabi Tel Aviv's most influential player, will be missing. But nevertheless, Maccabi Tel Aviv are strong believers in their chances of progressing throughout this game. Oscar Garcia, the manager of Maccabi Tel Aviv, tweeted today, that they're full of passion, and he's really hoping to see a real big effort from the guys, and that can really do it. Again, we're not talking here about a big team. Coming 1-0 from behind is not unheard of to win that game. With between 600 and 800 fans making their way together with Maccabi Tel Aviv, they will have some sort of a home crowd. They will have some feeling. As a matter of fact, let's be a little anecdotal here, Maccabi Tel Aviv actually subsidized 20% of the flights.
Wow.
For the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans wishing to go to the game. So they're really hoping here, and they're really believing that they're going to make it. Now, I know that most of you listeners here probably don't know all that much about the way European football works, European soccer works. So let's just start with the fact that we have two main competitions. One is the Champions League, and the other is the Europa League. Within the Champions League, of course, the champions of all the big football states go through. So, for example, England, Italy, Spain, Germany will each send 4 of their top teams to the Champions League. Then smaller countries like France or Holland will send 2 and 3. And from the small football nations, what UEFA consider the small football nations, they have 5 spots available. Out of those 5 spots, Maccabi Tel Aviv are competing for one, as are Maribor. Now, besides for them, also the champions of Denmark and the second place in Switzerland, and there's many big teams that are hoping for it. In the new sense of the way football is run, we're talking here about teams like Maccabi Tel Aviv and Maribor, which are really hoping. Now, let me go back a little bit.
Hold on 1 minute, Gadi. Radio Mike has a question. Let's ask. Go ahead, Radio Mike.
Well, I mean, are a lot of the fans not going to be able to go there because of the war, or any of the players not going to be able to get there because of the war?
No, that's unlikely. As a matter of fact, like I mentioned, between 600 and 800 fans will be following the team to Larnaca, which is quite significant numbers. I mean, Maribor are probably not going to come anywhere near that. Maccabi Tel Aviv are being very, very good with the fans. Maccabi Tel Aviv are a very well-run club, and they run their club for the fans. They are, like we said, they're subsidizing up to 20% of the flights to Cyprus, which is, it's substantial expenses, just because they really need the energy, they need the passion to push the players forward, to push the players to win.
How much money are we talking about when they say 20%? I mean, this is a few million shekels then, I take it, right?
It's probably close to 1 million shekels, which is a lot of money, but not a lot of money
for them
when it comes into the scheme of things, because you have to understand progressing to the Champions League is worth approximately anywhere between 40 and 60 million shekels to the team who progresses. Now, this is either Maccabi Tel Aviv or Maribor. One of them is going to hit the jackpot with between 40 and 60 million shekel. So the couple of 100,000 or maybe the million and a bit that they will be spending on subsidizing the fans, if that will really push the players to win the game, then,
it's a good investment.
Money well spent.
Now, one thing I'm curious about, Maccabi Tel Aviv, have they ever had a chance before to make it to the Champions League? Because this is a pretty impressive accomplishment if they get this done. Have they had this opportunity before?
So they have. As a matter of fact, they played in the Champions League, I believe it was in 2008, 2009. But since then, they've developed, they've completely overhauled their team. Since Mitch Goldhar, a Canadian real estate mogul, came along and bought the team, they've really changed their attitude. And they've changed their attitude to an extent where in Israeli football it's unrecognizable. I mean, there are no more leaks from the dressing rooms. They gave a new position which is very popular in Europe but doesn't exist in Israel, which is called a general manager. I know in American sports most teams have that. And someone who is sitting on top of the manager being the coach, is the general manager who runs the team, and he runs it, and they try to run it a very tight ship over there. So Maccabi Tel Aviv, are like to buy their Israeli players. They are not financially profitable. Unlike Maribor, which if you'd like we can discuss in a minute how Maribor run the team. But Maccabi Tel Aviv are really hoping to develop a real top-notch team that will be able to compete for a spot in the Champions League regularly, and maybe eventually be able to change Israeli football culture and really be able to make, the Israeli champions to be able to send their top team to the Champions League straight through every year.
All right, Gadi,
So
we're about
to discuss.
Gadi, we're up against it. Last question before we let you go. So it sounds like you don't think that their chances are out of the picture. They're going to have a chance. What's likely? How about that way? That Maccabi Tel Aviv makes it to the Champions League.
I believe in likelihood, considering the fact that we're coming from behind, considering the fact that Maccabi Tel Aviv are coming from 1-0 behind, it is quite likely. Maccabi Tel Aviv are a strong team. They're a motivated team, and just to put it bluntly, they're a better team than Maribor. And they can easily pull off the result. I do believe that it's Maccabi's game to lose. And it's Maccabi's spot in the Champions League to lose.
When's their next match?
Unlike Hapoel Tel Aviv and Hapoel Beersheva. Yeah.
When is their next match?
Well, this upcoming match is going to be on Tuesday night against Maribor, and the next match will be, I believe, 2 weeks after that. But the Champions League actually starts. The Champions League group stages will actually only start I believe, starts in October or November.
All right. Gadi, Rabinowitz, everyone, thank you for being on Louis Live here on TLV1. We appreciate the time. Be well.
Absolutely, Ari.
Thank you. All right, quick break on the other side. The founder of Answers.com, Bob Rosenschein. This is Louis Live on TLV1.
חוזר מלילה באולפן, חורז לי זמר אהבה ישן, לשיר במקלחת, חושב עלייך כל הזמן, אני אוהב אותך בכל מובן, ככה וככה, את בלתי נשכחת, גם כשאת לא כאן. עוד בוקר על חיי, אולי עבדתי יותר מדי, במקום להיות יחד, אבל בטוח לא אולי, גם את עובדת קצת יותר מדי, ככה וככה, רוצה אותך נחה, פה בזרועותיי, את הפנים, עוצם את העיניים, נותן לדמיוני לזרום עם המים, ואין מה לעשות, זה מה שיש בינתיים, ואת בכל מקום, ככה וככה, בלילה וביום, ככה וככה, 14 יום, בלי להיות ביחד.
All right, back here on TLV1. Folks, if you're listening to this show in its original airing, not the podcast, original airing, then you have about 20 minutes left until the fast is over. So hang in there, and me and Radio Mike will take you home. On the lawn right now, this is very impressive. We had a former head of Mossad on about 20 minutes ago, and now we're going to have on the founder of Answers.com and his son. Please give a warm Louis Live welcome to Bob Rosenschein and his son Akiva. Gentlemen, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having us on the show.
Hi.
Absolutely. So let's talk about what your contribution was to the sports trivia world because, Bob, me and Radio Mike, we're big trivia guys. We love sports. We had an argument on the bus ride over about Mariners, Yankees. Back in the day, before Google, before Wikipedia, we had to go to your company, Answers.com, and ask about it. So tell us the idea behind Answers.com as far as when you came up with it.
Oh, sure. It evolved over the years, but the basic concept behind Answers.com was anybody could ask a question about anything, and anybody could answer it, and anybody else could improve it. So we were like the Wikipedia of questions and answers. Wikipedia is an encyclopedia, but we were actually about questions and answers. So suppose you asked a question, a sports question, and you really wanted to know the answer, and you wanted to hear different, who are the top NBA players of all time, anything. Now, some of the questions could be factual questions, some could be opinion questions.
Right.
So basically, we wanted to make it very, very easy for people to contribute, and someone would post that question. Someone else who might be following that category of sports, or just specifically basketball, or a particular team, would see the question and come up with an answer. And the beauty of it is the answer could be fine-tuned and improved over time, edited, argued about, just like a Wikipedia article, but it was all about questions and answers.
So, Bob, let's be honest. Wikipedia stole your idea, right? Let's say it like it is.
No way. We love Wikipedia, and they actually preceded us.
Wow, what humility.
No. It's not being humble. They really did precede us.
All right, fair enough.
We adapted the format very specifically to questions and answers, though.
Okay, all right. So, let's say it like it is. All right, clear up the issues. I'm sure someone asked about that on Answers.com and Wikipedia. You can actually Wikipedia, and you can ask questions about Answers.com on the site. So that's pretty cool. Now, big difference between your site and Wikipedia, you guys have an Israel connection because there's an office in Jerusalem, is my understanding. Is that correct?
We founded and maintained the company in Jerusalem, Israel, of all places, and ran it. The beauty of the Internet is you can be anywhere in the world. I always like to joke that we get our news 7 hours before the East Coast, and basically we founded and ran the company from here. By the time we sold Answers.com in 2011, we had about 100 employees total, 2/3 of them in Israel, 1/3 of them in the U.S., and so we're really running a worldwide organization.
And you guys,
by the way,
yes.
On top of all that, I have to say, Akiva here was one of our contributors to Answers.com, so he actually saw it from the other side. He was not an employee at the time. He was actually a user and a contributor.
Oh, nice. Okay. And you guys also have a connection with St. Louis, right? Because my family's from St. Louis, a big Cardinals fan. Is that true? You have a St. Louis connection?
Absolutely. The company was purchased by Summit Partners, but their purpose in purchasing it was to combine it with a portfolio company of theirs called Announce Media at the time. And so they took over the company, and in fact, they changed the name of their corporation to Answers.
And now you're doing a new project. I know you've taken two companies public, but you're doing a new program called Kunilio, which is supposed to be even better than Google.
I have to be very careful with the superlatives.
This is the kiss-up hour, Bob. That's what it's about.
All right, there you go. Well, we appreciate it. We call our new company Curio, 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 and it's an information discovery tool. And Akiva and I both work at the company. We are having a lot of fun. We're building new products, but the whole idea is to bring you the latest and greatest about any subject. So suppose you're interested in Dwight Howard. You could find out everything from social media to factual things to pictures, news, YouTube, all in one easy-to-use place, all without leaving your page.
All right. And now, since Akiva's there, we want to give him some airtime. Can he come on? Because we'll throw him some hardball questions.
I'm here.
Okay. So, Akiva, tell us, we're talking about some of the goals of this company. How about let's short-term goals? You want it to be where this is the number one place people go to for information, or is that down the road, or are we happy if it's the top 5? What are you looking to do goal-wise with your company?
Well, information is a broad subject. We want to be the place you'll go when you want to know about any specific topic, subject. It could be a basketball player, it could be your favorite football team. We just want to be the hub about any given subject and have the best of the web come and contribute to that subject.
You know, I know this kind of might sound like a commercial for Israel, but there's this book, Startup Nation, that talks about all these companies that are made in Israel, and you guys are one of them. I mean, how does that, with Answers.com, and hopefully this company will be mentioned in the sequel of the book, I mean, how does that make you feel that you're part of the success that keeps Israel pumping?
Israel is an absolute center of innovation compared to anywhere. You can, we'll hold our own with Europe or the Far East or the U.S. So many cool things are being invented here. And people like to question things, and that's actually a very positive cultural trait when it comes to innovation. So we are definitely excited about creating a world-class tool in Israel that people use to find out about anything. As Akiva said, we want you to be your go-to place when you want to find out about something. It's not a question and answer site. It's not a search engine site. It's a topic-based site to find out the very best on the web about any person, place, or thing.
And last question before I let you go, you guys are pretty successful, and we have a story coming up next. Magic Johnson and some other successful businessmen choosing not to come to Israel. Obviously, it's different because you guys are members of the tribe, but did you ever think, let me stay in America during this war? We'll put things on hold. Did you ever think about not coming to Israel while the war is going on?
Do you want to take that? Absolutely not. We're at home here. This is our home. It's not just a question of blind loyalty. It's a question of love for the country, and we think we're doing great and important things here. We're having a lot of fun doing it. And there are risks, of course, anywhere. We're not happy about the difficult situation we're going through here now, but we will supersede the problems. It's like Warren Buffett said, even he bought a company in Israel right before the Second Lebanon War. And he said, if you're looking for oil, you can skip Israel. But if you're looking for innovation, that you have to go no further. And that's the way we feel about the country. And we want to do our piece, and we want to, develop the best software available.
All right. And it's great to have you guys on because in the middle of the tough times, negative things going on, it's great we have a positive story like you two gentlemen shared with us. Thank you so much for your time. Bob and Akiva Rosenschein here on Louis Live on TLV1. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
All right. Be well. All right, we'll take a quick break, and then we'll get it back to being a little negative. That was a little too positive, right? So Magic Johnson and Mari Stoudemire cancels their trip to Israel. We'll talk about that on the other side. This is Louis Live on TLV1. All right, back here on Louis Live, final segment, and it's just me, Radio Mike, in studio talking about, of course, the Magic Johnson story. He was planning on coming in September. They were going to have a charity basketball game with a bunch of celebrities where Hapoel Yerushalayim plays because Mari Stoudemire, NBA player, is part owner of the team. That trip is canceled. That game is canceled. And before we continue, I just want to say, I hate to sound selfish, but that personally affected me negatively. TLV1 was planning on broadcasting the game. I was going to do that. I was going to meet Magic Johnson. I was going to interview him. Those things are not going to happen, at least in September. Hopefully they'll happen later. Now, Radio Mike, you came from America to Israel. How come Magic Johnson can't do that? I don't understand.
Well, I guess he doesn't feel as connected to Israel as I do. It is kind of curious, I've been here for about a week, and, I feel very, very safe being in Israel. I'm not going down near the Gaza. It's unfortunate, someone was killed in Kiryat Gat, but, maybe he should have been a little bit more careful and gone into a secure place. But, being in Jerusalem and up north, it's very, very safe. I mean, and you can start asking questions about Magic Johnson. Maybe they shouldn't play basketball in Chicago because every week at least 10 people get killed and numerous injured on a holiday weekend. You might get as many as 50, 60 people injured. So maybe you shouldn't be going to Chicago to watch any games there.
Yeah, we were talking. I mean, Southside Chicago is one of the most dangerous places probably in the world. The White Sox play there. They have a stadium there, and they don't cancel the games. And I feel more comfortable here than the South Side of Chicago. Also, you don't have a big entourage. I mean, you're Radio Mike. You don't have a big entourage. Magic Johnson, you figured, would have big security, big entourage. Why would he be scared coming here?
Well, maybe, he might not have a big entourage, but I have God watching over me. So
maybe he feels he doesn't have God watching him. I don't know.
I don't know. It's so much misinformation given out, through the media. I don't feel at all in jeopardy over here. You have to be careful where you go, but that's any place in the world. I mean, you're not going to go into a bad neighborhood in New York or in Chicago or wherever you are. You have to be careful wherever you go, and I feel very, very safe over here, and I'm not concerned at all. And I'm happy to help my brethren here in any way I can while I'm going to be here.
Also, Magic grew up in East Lansing, which is not the most safest place.
Well, actually, to be fair with him, I would be afraid to go to Detroit.
There you go. There you go. At this point, yeah, being a Lakers legend. Another player who was going to come, of course, canceled as well, Chris Mullin. Now, Chris Mullin is he played in New York for college. Like, it's supposed to be a tough guy.
Yeah, well,
what's going on?
Yes,
Syracuse, St. John's, sorry.
St. John's University, which is about 2-3 miles from my house, and I don't know what his problem is, but people, they say, well, why do we have to go there? Let's go to Hawaii. There are no bombs flying over there. But it's basically you made a commitment. You should live up to the commitment unless there's really, really a problem. And there is really no problem coming to Israel right now. It's really, really unfortunate, the misinformation that's being disseminated.
And another player who canceled, Maury Stoudemire, who says he is Jewish, and he was on my show a few years ago. He is part owner of Halpol Yerushalayim, as I mentioned. The weird thing was, back in 2004, during the Olympics, there were threats of bombing going on. Remember, Iraq War is about a year old. Amari said, I'm not afraid. I want to play for my country. I want to do this. Well, Israel should be his country if he's Jewish, and he should come, right?
Yeah, he should show his support. Now is the time to show your support for Israel. I do have some family here. I have 2 nieces that are here with lovely families, and I have my daughter's here. She volunteered this summer for Magen David Adom in the ambulance crew. Yes, I feel connected, but there's no reason not to come here. I'm really appalled at some of the excuses people come up with and their philosophies.
Both Magic and Amari, especially Magic, is known for working with inner cities in Los Angeles, talk about Compton, Watts, etc. And again, we keep harping on this, but it's important. Those places are a lot more dangerous than Jerusalem. It's not close.
No, it's not.
He has no problem walking to Watts, walk into Harnof. It's not a big deal. Walk into Malcha, walk into German Colony. You'll see it's fine.
Really, I know there were a couple of sirens that did go off in Jerusalem, but thank God we have the Iron Dome. It's if I felt that I was in jeopardy, I would be pulling my daughter out. I'd be in the first plane out, and I wouldn't have come here. But that's not the case. It's just not the case. I came here on the El Al flight. Most of the people there were very, very positive. They didn't have any fear. And I talked to people. Everyone's very concerned with what's going on in Gaza right now. But for the people that are in Israel, it's not a problem.
All right. So very disappointing story, to say the least. But the fact of the matter is that is what happened. That's what occurred. And is it possible that they will never come? Because I'm hoping, personally, my career, I hope they come.
Well, when I speak to people, back in New York, and I tell them every once in a while I'm going to Israel. So one person said to me, and this is a number of years ago, he said, "Oh yeah, you should get a really good workout there." I said, "Well, why is that?" He said, "Because you're going to be dodging bullets." That's what he said to me. A very nice fellow. I don't think he was anti-Semitic. He just didn't know any better. And people, they think that Israel, it's in a desert. There's nothing blooming here. There's nothing going on. And that's completely opposite. You could do whatever you want in Israel. It could be spiritual. It could be, whatever you want. If you want a talk show, you can listen to Ari Louis. But if you want to go to some of the best beaches in the world, the best restaurants, the best discotheques, whatever you want to happen, whatever your fancies are, the best opera, the best theater, whatever you want to do in Israel, you can do. And of course, the spiritual pluses are unsurpassed, whether you're Jewish or Christian.
That's right. All right. So that is the story at this point. Magic Johnson canceling his trip along with Chris Mullin and Mari Stoudemire. Hopefully that trip will be rescheduled, and hopefully we'll do the game. That is the end for our show today. Next week, again, we hope to have on Paul Hirschberger, who is the documentary of the Israel Football League. So he should tell us what's the latest. He entered his film in the Jewish Film Festival. We hope to have on also Noad Lahat. We've been in contact about him coming on. He wants to come on the show. Of course, he's busy fighting a war, but if he gets a break, he can get on the cell and get on the program. We want to thank everyone for listening tonight and thank our guests. First start with Radio Mike. Thank you for being in studio with us tonight.
Always a pleasure. And
it's certainly a pleasure to have you on. Of course, thanks to our guests. We began the program with Ilana Berger Harpaz from Israel Hayom talking about Dudi Sela and Jonathan Elrich's performance in the City Open tennis tournament and the war in Gaza having an effect on their performance. We then spoke with I-24's Tom Weiss about the recent decision of Tel Aviv Municipality to give out $240,000 to the family of the runner who passed away a few years ago in the Tel Aviv Marathon. We then spoke with the former head of Mossad, Avi Dagan, about the blind Israeli champion golfer Zohar Sharon, who also has beaten golfers who can see, believe it or not. We then spoke with Gadi Rabinowitz, telling us that Maccabi Tel Aviv is not out just yet. Obviously, their chances of getting in the Champions League are hurt, but they will have a chance nonetheless. And then, of course, we spoke with the CEO, founder of Answers.com, Bob Rosenschein, and his son, Akiva, and about their new startup and what they plan to do with it. And again, we finished the program with me and Radio Mike discussing Magic Johnson's canceled trip to Jerusalem. Stay tuned for a lot of great programming and a lot of great stuff. But that's it for tonight. God bless and good night.